Hi, it's Ben with Accura Outdoors, and today we are going to talk about single stage and turret style presses. So we've got both of them here. This is our turret press, and this is our single stage. And what we're going to be covering is ways to help maybe speed up the process. Progressive is obviously the fastest way you can load. Single stage and turret are obviously going to be inherently slower, but we're going to at least give you some options or things to consider when you are reloading. Alright, so turret and single stage are going to kind of have a lot of the same things. With single stage, or through single stage, you're only going to have one die, and you're going to have to process the brass with the one die, then move over. With turret, the only way that it's faster is because you have all of your die set up, but you do have to process one brass at a time. So you have to put your brass in, you run it, and go through. So one of the things that you see a lot of people use are some type of reloading tray. The biggest thing with the reloading tray is that you can put all of your brass on here. You can do, where this is a multi-caliber, so this has, this will fit certain calibers, and on the back you can do the smaller ones. So the way you'd want to work it is you would have, your brass set up. You'd have all of your items in the area that you need, so that way you're not reaching for stuff. So that way, you have your brass here, and then you'd have your bullets and everything. So if you can kind of create a rhythm, that's going to be your fastest way. Another thing is, so we have, this is a powder dispenser. So what you can do is you can adjust it to be your powder amount. So after you've deprimed, sized, and then put the primer back into the brass, then the next step would be to put powder in. This is a really fast way. You just go through and you can just dispense all your powder through all of them at once. So that way you can put your, that way you can get all your brass with your powder and your flare done. So that way your next step would just be to put bullets in. So then after, obviously, to crimp. But what's kind of a way to make things a little bit faster when you do this, if you didn't have this, or you wanted something a little more precise, using a powder dispenser is another way to make it a little bit faster. And if you are on the budget side, definitely using a scale, but we're talking about speed within a budget. So I think for the cost, this is going to be your best bet. Obviously, you're going to have a little digital scale to check afterwards once you've got it all set. Good rule of thumb is, after you have it set, run through at least 5 to 10 times, make sure that's consistent, within, and then run it. So like I mentioned before, you definitely want to have everything set up so that way you have a rhythm going on. So you'd have all your tumbled brass ready. So then you would take that, put it in, run it, and then you could have your next one set over here, and then that way you're kind of have a rhythm. Where we have this located, it's not really good for that. This really would need to be, say, right here, or after you've processed it, you just come up here and then you just go through and do all of them. I'm going to kind of set it up and show you a way that I would do it, but everyone has different things. If you have any suggestions on how to speed this up, or just some tips and tricks that you've learned throughout the years with loading for single stage and turret, comment below and let us know. So we got our setup. Basically kind of got everything how I think it'll work. So for this setup, we're going to be using the Lyman All-American Turret 8. Mainly because this is going to be a little easier to explain and spend a little less time swapping dies. So what we're going to do is start with our tumbled brass. We're going to size decap it, go over and then we'll flare it, and then it'll be ready for powder. So let's get through that first. So now that we have some of our brass set up, we are going to put all of the powder in. So pretty simple, you just go up. The way I'm going to set this up is to make this a little bit simpler. Actually, let me get her. So we're going to check this one first. Pretty sure this should be good, but another thing is, since we are testing that, have your tools readily available. Alright, so we're good. So then, after you seat it, just move it over to your crimp. And it's all set. So alright, now we're going to go full speed. So we got a few rounds loaded up. Maybe it took 20 minutes to do everything. So hopefully some of these tips and tricks help with maybe setting up your reloading to make it a little bit faster. Obviously with a single stage, instead of having two different dies you can run through, you're going to want to kind of process them all in batches. But if there's any other tips and tricks or things that we didn't mention, let us know, and we'd be more than happy to share with the rest of the world. So stay safe, and I'll see you on the range.